But more than that, he's been in contact with the entire organization back in D.C. and he lends credence to the information we have out here because we don't really know what goes on. We see it on TV. It's not the same as having somebody that actually knows what's going on. So I'm going to count on Jim McKinney today to tell us what's really going on. Thank you, Jim.
Thanks, Mark. And I got to thank Peyton for talking after Tim, wherever Tim went, because that's a tough thing to do. Thank you for that. And I got to thank Mark for having me over to do the bathroom break, so we didn't sit here and forget what I was talking about.
Are you going to sit down, Tim, or interrupt him too? No. Why don't you just take a seat, Tim?
I'm testing his concentration. Testing his concentration.
Wait till he sits down. There's no sense. He's got to be the center. Go ahead, Tim. Okay.
That's right. We
Is
love
that
it.
toilet paper? Oh, no, that's
Throw the maggot ones at you.
How many are walkaways? How many are walkaways? Raise your hand. Give them a hand. People are waking up.
what's a
Walk away from the Democratic Party. Yeah. Hashtag walk away. There's a big movement in America right now. People are waking up to the progressive attacks on America. And if you're an American and you've lived here, you understand the value of this country, right? And you understand that you are responsible for yourself. Everybody else isn't responsible for you. And that's the big difference in this room, and which is so exciting to me to see. Pat's got a mask on because she is taking care of herself. And the rest of us don't. And that's why I know I'm in a Republican place right now. Right? No face diaper. Right? Because we're going to take risks. Because we believe in responsibility to ourselves. And yeah, we don't want anybody else to be hurt. We don't want anybody else to. But bottom line is, everybody should not suffer to protect those that should be protecting themselves.
Here, here.
And that's just the way we should be looking at our world. We can help out. That's not because we don't have a big heart and we don't want to protect each other. That's not the case. But don't place rules and take away our rights because someone else thinks it's a better idea. We are now in the fight, the epic battle of our age. This is the epic battle of our age. Multiple generations. Good versus evil. Courage over fear. Hope over hate. These are fundamental principles that we are now struggling with. And we, us, right here, the battle begins with us. Silence and then anger at me for asking the question. And the first response was, what insurgency? There's no insurgency. Oh, by the way, we've got to hand it over to the Iraqis. What Iraqis? You just disbanded the entire security apparatus of that nation. Within a week, Donald Rumsfeld was asked a similar question on national television in a press conference, and his response was the same. What insurgency? I don't see an insurgency. For me, as a man who worked in special operations, had done counterterrorism, had been in counterinsurgency for a long time, it was clear. For the people inside the Beltway that were believing their own dialogue, believing what the Washington Post said, believing something that's just not right, they just didn't understand from the ground. It shouldn't work this way. Thousands of Americans, tens of thousands of Iraqis died for that failure to understand the insurgency. What was happening? Now I'm going to tell you something right now that is going to scare you a little bit. And it's a little more serious. I'm not going to be funny. FM 3-24, the U.S. Army's counterinsurgency manual. It's the same for the Marine Corps. They use the same document. It outlines what an urban insurgency is. In the first chapter, look it up. You can download the PDF. Intimidate the population. Undermine local government. use sectarian violence to separate the population through tension, racial tension. Undermine credibility and authority. Isolate, fix security forces, police and military, so they are unable to act. Undermine the legitimacy of government. And the final is to kill your opposition. We're there. Washington, people that live inside that beltway, that read the Washington Post, New York Times every day to get information, they do not understand it. They don't see what is happening right now. There is a well-funded, well-resourced operational activity going on in our nation with big corporations and nefarious actors that are actually funding and resourcing these events in over 200 cities in the United States right now. It is the beginnings of an insurgency. And they do it through propaganda. They do it with the support of the most resourced, capitalized corporations in the history of the world. Our tech companies. Google, Amazon, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. They are using those methodologies, and you are getting massive resources to support these activities with Antifa and BLM through an organization called ActBlue, which is funding the Democratic Party, and then corporate donations to these different front groups. They're coordinated, they're organized, and they're operating in our cities to destroy them and undermine exactly in that, those outlines in our counterinsurgency manual for our military. Who's doing it? People that want power and divide influence. They hate this presidency so much because it is a direct affront to what they want. Massive lobbyists, massive organizations that spend tremendous amounts influencing our political leaders in Washington and in our states, and the way the system works, like it or not, is the people with the money get the influence, they get the entree, they go in, they talk, they convince, and then they keep moving forward. And now, if you can use the media corporations, and if you can use the tech companies to support your message and shut out any opposition in order to influence and get power, that's what we're facing right now. And they are doing it. There is no question. It is absolutely apparent, except for the people that close their minds to it because that couldn't be happening. The general in 2004, Secretary of Defense Rumsfeld in 2004. That can't be happening. They don't see it. They don't understand. It happens so fast. In the bottom of that document, it says, often in an insurgency, the leadership does not know until it's already there. How do you get justice, social justice, by destroying the justice system? Someone explain that to me? How do you get justice by taking away law enforcement? Hey, you know, what is the most, how many law enforcement in here? Cliff, former law enforcement.
Raise your hand.
You're a former law enforcement. How many others look former law enforcement? What is the most dangerous? Yeah, thank you. Thank you for what you've done and your support to our community. What's the most dangerous event to go with? Domestic violence issue. The biggest, most dangerous event. My dad was a cop for 30 plus years. Domestic violence. So we're going to send in social workers? What the heck? This is insane. These ideologies are absolutely undermining our safety, our communities, and our future. But they're winning. They're winning because they've got support, they've got the money. They've got the media, the propaganda, all the elements of an insurgency. How many people, last month, Joe Biden raised how much money? $345 million. The Trump campaign raised less than $100,000 less. What was the average donation? How many knows the average donation to the Biden campaign?
500,000.
So over 700,000. Average donation over 700,000 to the Biden campaign in that year. The average. What was the average donation to the Trump campaign? $45. Who do you think has the population on their side right now? But the fight is big because those dollar figures really want to have control, and they want to buy influence with that administration. They want influence. Hillary Clinton in 2016 raised 4 times the money that the Trump administration did and lost the election. 4 times. Biggest donor to the Clinton campaign? Finance, exactly. Finance industry. How much money had she ever managed? Clinton Foundation, how much did she legally manage? Here's a guy that had actually made money. Yes, he started out with his family and had some money to start with, but he was the most popular guy. Oprah Winfrey wanted him on the show. He stood and got awards from Al Sharpton in New York. Everybody loved him. Everyone wanted to be associated with Donald Trump until 2015. Everybody thought he was a great guy. There were no complaints. There were no misogynist things because most of his staff were actually women. High-paid staff. How many in here were uncomfortable with Donald Trump in 2016? Honestly, raise your hands. So was I. I'm like, The Apprentice? What are you talking about? What? I didn't know him. He's in New York. Man, get away from that. I don't want that. But then I started watching, and I saw what he said. But then I started listening to what was happening. I was apolitical my entire career, 30-plus years in the military. I supported 6 presidents until I retired. And then I realized my own community is suffering from these ideologies and these policies. I need to get involved. You're here because you want to get involved. Trump was not the ideal candidate. In one sense. And especially, and this is really important, for conservative Christian voters, they are very uncomfortable. And I'm going to say this, and this is what I would like you to pass on to your friends that say the same. Who judges this? As a Christian, who judges you? God judges you. When you go up there and you're trying to get through the gates with St. Pete, that's who makes the call. Do we have the responsibility to judge that we don't know? All we hear is the media and the spin that is controlled by people that want to manage our thoughts and ideas. We are now the product. Google, Facebook, these companies, they make their money off understanding exactly what you're going to look at, what you're going to buy, what you're going to see, what you're going to do. They build algorithms. Unfortunately, my son does this as a profession. AI manager, a scientist with Amazon. PhD, Caltech, theoretical physics. They build algorithms to judge you, to manage you, to shape you, to direct you, how to think, where to buy, what you're going to do next. And they sell that data to anybody, not just for advertising, including political campaigns, to shape your ideas, to undermine you. And then they shut down opposing views that would go against where they're going to make their money or their future. These are the people that are donating and managing and supporting the $700,000 plus donations to that campaign. I did not vote for Donald Trump because he was a nice guy. I voted for Donald Trump because he believed in America, because he wanted to take care of the workers of America, because he wanted to stop the export of our jobs, because he wanted to protect our borders, because he wanted to protect our nation, and believes fundamentally in those values of right to speak as you wish freely, to think and believe as you wish, to improve your family's life as you wish, by your choice, not by control in some central government that will dictate to you. And oh by God, he's a guy that's going to stand up to people that will scream at you at the restaurant and tell you, raise your hand and say Black Lives Matter, or don't eat, or burn your car, or attack you, or threaten you, and intimidate you. And he's appointing judges, and he's moving in the direction, and oh my God, is it a fight? This is unbelievable what we're facing.